There comes a time in life when you have done all you can. You have fought battles in silence, carried burdens no one knew about, and endured trials that tested your very soul. You have prayed, waited, and kept the faith, even when everything in you was exhausted. But now God is saying, enough. You don't have to fight anymore. I am stepping in. This is the moment when the weight you have carried for so long is no longer yours to bear. From now on, it is God's duty. When God takes over, everything shifts. The struggles that once drained you will no longer have power over you. The enemies who plotted against you will be silenced, not by your hands, but by the mighty hand of God. The obstacles that seemed impossible will begin to move not because of your strength, but because of His divine intervention. You are no longer walking in your own power, you are walking in His. And when God moves, no force in heaven or on earth can stand against Him. Maybe you have been in a season where it felt like you were constantly fighting for survival, fighting for recognition, fighting for love, fighting to simply hold on. You were trying to do it all on your own, believing that if you just pushed harder, tried harder, things would change. But what you didn't realize is that some battles were never meant for you to fight. They belong to God from the beginning, and now He is reclaiming them. You see, when you are chosen, there is a special covering over your life. God does not allow His chosen ones to be consumed by the trials of this world. He may allow you to go through the fire, but He will never let you be destroyed by it. And right now He is saying that the season of struggle is over. You have proven your faith, you have endured the test, and now it is time for Him to step in and do what only He can do. What does it look like when God takes over? It looks like peace in the middle of chaos. It looks like victory when defeat seems certain. It looks like blessings that come from places you never expected. It looks like enemies who once stood against you suddenly losing their power. It looks like restoration, healing, and breakthrough. When God fights for you, the battle is no longer yours to worry about. You don't have to defend yourself, you don't have to prove yourself, and you don't have to carry the stress of wondering how things will work out. God is handling it. Many times, we hold on to battles because we feel responsible for fixing everything. We try to be strong for ourselves and for others, thinking that if we don't fight, no one else will. But God is reminding you today that He is your defender. He is your protector. He is the one who will make a way when there seems to be no way. It's time to release the weight and let Him do what only He can do. Maybe you have been wronged, betrayed, or mistreated. Maybe people have taken advantage of your kindness, overlooked your worth, or tried to block what God has for you. Do not be discouraged. What is meant for you will always find you, and those who tried to harm you will have to answer to God. The battle is not yours, it belongs to the Lord. And when He fights for you, justice will be served not in your timing, but in His perfect time. This is the new season, a season where you no longer carry burdens that are not yours, a season where you no longer lose sleep over battles that God has already won, a season where you step back and let Him take control. It may not happen overnight, but trust that He is working. The moment you surrender the fight to Him, you will feel a shift. A peace that surpasses all understanding will fill your heart because you will know that the one who holds the universe in His hands is now handling your situation. So stand firm in faith. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. You are not alone. God is with you and He is fighting for you. And when God fights, victory is certain. There are moments in life when you feel like you have given everything, yet the results don't seem to match your efforts. You've worked hard, remained faithful, and done everything in your power to stay on the right path, yet it seems like the breakthrough is still out of reach. It's easy to wonder if your time will ever come, if your prayers will ever be answered, and if all your sacrifices will ever be worth it. But God is saying to you today, I have not forgotten you. I am preparing something greater than you can imagine. You see, when God is working in your life, He operates on His perfect timing. While you may be ready for the blessing, He is ensuring that the blessing is ready for you. He is aligning things in ways that you cannot see, opening doors that you don't even know exist yet. Sometimes He keeps you waiting, not to deny you, but to strengthen you, to build your faith, and to prepare you for the greatness that is ahead. Think about this. If God gave you everything you wanted right now, would you truly be ready for it? Would you be able to handle the responsibility, the challenges, and the weight that comes with the blessing? Many times, God's delays are not denials. They are divine preparations. He is refining you, shaping you, and positioning you so that when the blessing comes, you will be able to sustain it. Look at the lives of those in the Bible who were chosen for greatness. Joseph had a dream of leadership, but had to go through betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment before he stepped into his destiny. David was anointed king, but he had to endure years of battles, persecution, and hardship before he sat on the throne. Even Jesus himself had a season of waiting before his ministry began. If you feel like you are in a season of waiting, know that you are in good company. God is preparing you for something bigger than you can imagine. Sometimes the delay is also God's way of protecting you. He sees things that you cannot see. He knows what is ahead, and He knows what is best for you. There are times when you may feel frustrated because things are not happening fast enough, but what if God is holding you back from stepping into something that is not meant for you? What if He is protecting you from a path that would have led to destruction? Trust that His timing is always perfect. While you wait, do not lose faith. Do not allow frustration to steal your joy or make you doubt God's promises. Instead, use this time to grow spiritually, to strengthen your relationship with Him, and to develop the skills and wisdom that you will need for your next season. Every delay has a purpose, and when God finally releases what He has for you, it will be better than anything you could have imagined. Maybe you have been feeling forgotten, like everyone else is moving forward while you remain stuck. But God is reminding you that your time is coming. He is not finished with you yet. The doors that seem closed right now will open at the right moment. The opportunities that seem out of reach will come when you are fully prepared to handle them. And when the breakthrough happens, it will be so evident that it was God who made it possible. You are not waiting in vain. You are being positioned, strengthened, and prepared for something that will last. Do not rush the process. Do not compare your journey to others. What God has for you is unique, and when He moves, it will happen suddenly, powerfully, and unmistakably. Until then, trust Him, stay faithful, keep believing. Your moment is on the way, and when it arrives, you will understand why the wait was necessary. There are times when you may feel like you have done everything right, worked hard, remained faithful, and held on to hope, but the results still don't align with your expectations. You wonder why things are taking so long, why the opportunities you long for seem just out of reach, and why the struggles you face seem never ending. It is in these moments that God is saying, "Trust me, I am making a way where there seems to be no way." You see, when God is orchestrating your breakthrough, He does it in ways that are beyond human understanding. You may be expecting a door to open in one direction, but God is preparing something even greater from an unexpected place. You may be hoping for a specific opportunity, but God is ensuring that when it comes, it will be in the right season and under the best conditions for you to thrive. Sometimes the things you desire are not denied, they are simply being perfected behind the scenes. It is easy to grow impatient when you do not see immediate results. The world teaches us to crave instant success, instant answers, and instant solutions. But God operates on eternal timing. He sees the full picture while you only see a fragment of it. What looks like a delay to you is actually divine alignment. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater. He is not withholding blessings from you. He is ensuring that you are ready to receive them fully. Think about the story of the Israelites. When they left Egypt, they expected a quick journey to the Promised Land. But what should have taken days turned into years. Why? Because they needed to be prepared for the land they were about to inherit. God had to strengthen them, refine their faith, and remove the things that could have destroyed them before they stepped into their promise. If He had taken them there too soon, they would not have been ready to handle it. The same principle applies to your life. God knows when you are ready, and He knows when the time is right. You may think you are prepared now, but He sees beyond the surface. He sees the challenges ahead that you are not yet equipped for. He sees the areas where you still need growth. Instead of viewing the waiting period as a punishment, see it as preparation. Every lesson you learn now, every obstacle you overcome, and every delay you experience is shaping you into the person who will be able to handle the blessing when it comes. And while you wait, don't lose faith. The enemy will try to whisper lies into your mind, telling you that God has forgotten you, that your prayers are unheard, and that nothing will change. But those are all distractions meant to shake your trust in God. Stay firm in your belief that He is working things out for your good. Even when you don't see it, He is moving. Even when you don't understand it, He is aligning things perfectly. In moments of doubt, remind yourself of how far you have already come. There were times when you thought you wouldn't make it, but God brought you through. There were moments when you felt completely lost, but He guided you. The same God who has been faithful in your past will continue to be faithful in your future. He has not abandoned you, and He never will. When the time is right, things will shift in your favor. The doors that seemed impossible to open will swing wide. The opportunities that felt out of reach will come to you effortlessly. And when it happens, you will realize that God's way was always better than your own. You will see that every moment of waiting had a purpose, every delay had a reason, and every challenge was shaping you for something greater. So hold on, stay faithful, keep trusting. What God has for you is coming, and when it arrives, it will be more than you ever imagined. There comes a time in your journey when you must fully surrender to God's plan, not just in words, but in action and in faith. It is not enough to say that you trust Him. You must live in that trust, move in that trust, and make decisions based on that trust. This is where many struggle, because surrendering means letting go of control, stepping aside, and allowing God to take the lead, even when you don't understand where He is guiding you. The human mind craves certainty. You want to know how things will work out, when they will happen, and what the next step should be. But faith requires walking forward even when you cannot see the full path. Faith demands obedience even when the outcome is unknown. It is about saying, God, I trust you with my life, my future, and everything in between. I may not have all the answers, but I know that you do. Many times you hesitate to take that step of faith because fear tries to convince you that surrendering means losing something. You worry that if you let go of your own plans, you will miss out on the life you desire. But here is the truth. When you surrender to God, you are not losing, you are gaining. You are stepping into something far greater than you could ever imagine on your own. Look at the examples in the Bible. When Peter stepped out of the boat and walked on water toward Jesus, he was doing something humanly impossible. The moment he kept his focus on Christ, he was sustained. But when he allowed fear to distract him, he began to sink. This is what happens when you try to handle everything on your own instead of trusting God completely. The more you focus on the unknown, the more fear takes hold. But the more you focus on God, the more strength you receive. You may be facing a situation right now where you feel uncertain. Perhaps you have been waiting for an answer and it seems like nothing is happening. Maybe you have been praying for a breakthrough, but the circumstances around you look discouraging. This is when faith must rise. This is when you must say, God, I trust you even when I don't see the outcome. I trust you even when it feels difficult. I trust that you are leading me to something greater. Surrendering is not about passively waiting for things to happen. It is about taking action in faith, knowing that as you move, God moves with you. If He places something in your heart, take that step. If He leads you in a direction, follow it. Stop hesitating because of fear, because fear is not from God. Fear is designed to keep you stuck, to make you doubt, to convince you that you're not capable. But the God who created you did not place you on this earth to live in fear. He placed you here to walk in purpose, to fulfill His plans, and to trust that He is guiding you every step of the way. One of the greatest blessings of surrender is peace. When you finally release your worries, your anxieties, and your need to control everything, you will experience a deep sense of peace. That is because you are no longer carrying burdens you were never meant to carry. You are allowing God to handle what only He can handle. Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control everything, the more frustrated you become? That is because you were never meant to do it all alone. God never designed you to navigate life in your own strength. That is why He says, "Cast your cares upon me, for I care for you." He wants you to release the weight of worry and trust that He is taking care of you. Let this be the moment where you decide to let go. Let go of the need to figure it all out. Let go of the doubt that keeps creeping in. Let go of the fear that whispers lies into your heart. Stand firm in your faith and declare, God, I trust you. I trust your timing. I trust your plan. I trust that what you have for me is better than anything I could create for myself. When you live in that kind of trust, you will see doors open that you never expected. You will see provision come in ways you never imagined. You will experience peace that surpasses all understanding. And when you look back, you will realize that surrendering to God was never about losing control. It was about gaining something greater than you ever thought possible. There are moments in life when you feel like you have given everything, yet the results seem invisible. You have prayed, you have worked, you have remained faithful, but the breakthrough you long for still seems distant. This is the point where frustration creeps in, where doubt tries to convince you that maybe you misunderstood God's plan. But hear this clearly, God has not forgotten you. He has not overlooked your faithfulness. What He has promised, He will bring to pass, but it will happen in His timing, not yours. When God declares something over your life, no force in hell can stop it. No delay, no setback, no opposition is strong enough to cancel what He has ordained for you. But often the greatest battles come right before the breakthrough. The enemy sees what God is doing in your life, and he wants to discourage you before you see the fulfillment of His promises. This is why so many people give up just before their blessing arrives. They get weary in the waiting and assume that silence means God is not moving, but silence is not absence. God's silence is often preparation. Think of Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness, of leadership, of purpose. Yet, before he stepped into that promise, he went through betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and imprisonment. To anyone looking at his life, it might have seemed like the opposite of what God had promised. But God was not absent. He was preparing. He was shaping Joseph, building his character, and placing him in position so that when the time was right, he would step into his destiny without delay. Some of you are in that season right now. You are in the waiting, in the process, in the moments where it feels like nothing is happening, but God is moving in the unseen. Just because you don't see it yet does not mean it is not on the way. The promise is still alive. The breakthrough is still coming. Your obedience, your faithfulness, your prayers, they are all building something greater than you can imagine. God never wastes pain. Every trial, every hardship, every disappointment, it is all being used for a greater purpose. The very things that you thought were setbacks are actually setups for what God is about to do next. The doors that closed were not rejections, they were redirections. God is not trying to punish you, He is trying to position you. Sometimes the biggest obstacle to seeing God's promises fulfilled is our own impatience. We want things to happen now. We want to see results immediately. But God's timing is perfect. If you receive something too soon, you may not be ready for it. If Joseph had stepped into leadership before he went through the process, he would not have been equipped to handle the responsibility. If David had become king the moment he was anointed, he would not have developed the strength and wisdom needed to rule. God does not delay without reason. He delays to refine, to prepare, to strengthen. There is power in endurance. The ones who see the fulfillment of God's promises are those who refuse to give up, no matter how long it takes. They are the ones who stand firm in faith, who trust even when they don't understand, who keep pressing forward even when the road gets tough. Faith is not just believing when things are easy. Faith is holding on when everything around you says to let go. God's plan for you is bigger than what you can currently see. What looks like a delay is actually divine alignment. What feels like a detour is actually direction. He is ordering your steps, moving pieces into place, preparing people, opening doors. At the right time, everything will come together, and you will understand why you had to wait. But until then, do not grow weary. Do not allow frustration to make you doubt what God has spoken. His word will not return void. Stay faithful, keep trusting, keep believing, because when God fulfills His promise, it will be worth every moment of waiting. There is a divine order to everything in life, and when you trust God, you must also trust His timing. The moment you fully surrender to God's plan is the moment you step into a life where you no longer strive, stress, or worry about when things will happen. Instead, you rest in the truth that what He has spoken over your life will come to pass at the appointed time. No force in this world can stop what God has destined for you. No delay is a denial, and no obstacle is too great to overcome. When God declares something over your life, it is already done in the spiritual realm. It is only a matter of time before you see it unfold in the natural. But waiting can be hard. When you've been faithful, when you have done all you know to do, and yet the promise still feels distant, it can feel like God has forgotten you. But listen, God does not forget His children. He does not overlook the prayers you have cried out in the midnight hours. He does not ignore the faith you have held onto when everything around you told you to give up. What you must understand is that while you are waiting, God is working. He is not just preparing the blessing for you, He is preparing you for the blessing. There are things you have prayed for that, if given to you too soon, could crush you instead of bless you. There are opportunities that, if they came before you were ready, could overwhelm you instead of elevate you. There are relationships that, if they entered your life before the right season, could distract you instead of help you grow. God is not in the business of giving half-baked blessings. He is a God of completion, a God of perfect timing, a God who makes everything beautiful in its time. Think about the story of Abraham. God promised him that he would be the father of many nations, yet for years he and Sarah remained childless. Imagine how he must have felt as the years went by and the promise still had not been fulfilled. He could have doubted, he could have walked away, but instead he chose to trust. And in the appointed time, God gave him Isaac, the son of promise. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late, right on time. Your life is unfolding according to God's divine plan, even when it doesn't look like it. Every delay has a purpose. Every closed door is making way for something better. Every difficult season is shaping you into who you need to be for what is coming next. God is not punishing you with the wait. He is protecting you. He is making sure that when you receive what He has promised, you will be ready to handle it with wisdom, strength, and faith. In moments of doubt, remind yourself of God's faithfulness. Think back to times when He came through for you in ways you never expected. Reflect on the prayers He has already answered, the doors He has already opened, the times He has made a way when there seemed to be no way. If He was faithful then, He will be faithful now. He does not change. His promises do not expire. This is why you must remain steadfast. The enemy will try to plant seeds of doubt. He will whisper lies that say, it's never going to happen. You're wasting your time. You must have misunderstood what God said. But you must silence those lies with truth. God is not a man that He should lie. If He said it, He will do it. If He spoke it, He will bring it to pass. So what do you do while you wait? You keep walking in obedience. You stay faithful in the small things. You cultivate the gifts He has given you. You deepen your relationship with Him. You trust that every step, even the ones that don't make sense right now, are leading you closer to the fulfillment of His promises. There will come a day when you look back and realize that every delay, every trial, every moment of waiting was necessary. You will see how God used it all for your good, and when the promise finally arrives, you will not only receive it with joy, but with the wisdom and maturity to steward it well. God is not just preparing the blessing for you, He is preparing you for the blessing. Keep trusting, keep believing, it's coming.